उसूल नंबर 9, अपना रहन सहन और व्यवहार ऐसा उम्दा बना ले कि जिसको देखने से लोगों में नेक ख्याली का एहसास हो और लोग उससे मोहब्बत करने लगें। हमको ताकत अपने ख्याल से मिलती है। ये कब? जब उसकी तरीक़े में, अपनी चीज़ों में और जो उसकी बनाई हुई हैं हम आहंगी पैदा कर लें। लफ्ज़ व्यवहार इतना वसी लफ्ज़ है कि ये कुल इस दायरे को मुय्यत कर लेता है जो ज़ात के बाद नमोदार हुआ है। ईश्वर के व्यवहार में एकसानियत भी है, मगर एक मानों में। मसलन वो सबको बराबर रोशनी देता है। सबके सांस लेने के लिए उसने हवा पैदा की है और बहुत सी ऐसी चीज़ें बनाई हैं जो कि ज़िंदगी के बढ़ाने वाली हैं, बल्कि ज़िंदगी का इन्हिसार इन्हीं पर है। इसके बर्तावे का एकसानियत कहते हैं। अब दूसरी चीज़ आती है जो उसके पास बन बन कर पहुँचती रहती है। उसके साथ बर्ताव और तरीका होता है। जाहिर है कि मिट्टी से बनी हुई चीज़ जब सामने आती है तो इंसान की नज़र उस पर और तरह की पड़ने लगती है। मिट्टी से जब हम खिलौना बनाते हैं तो एक गुना हमारी रग़बत बमुकाबला मिट्टी के इससे ज़्यादा हो जाती है। इस तरह से जब इंसान बना बनाया उसके सामने पहुंचता है तो उसकी निगाह कुछ और ही हो जाती है। बस मालूम हो गया कि हमको अपने आप को ऐसा बनाना चाहिए ताकि उसकी निगाह हम पर ऐसी घूमे कि हम उस रोशनी के बराह रास्त लेने के लिए खतिस्तवा बन जाएं। ये व्यवहार खुदरत का है जिसका हमें नकल करना चाहिए। अब रोज़ाना की ज़िंदगी में जो हमारे सामने है हम ऐसे ही व्यवहार अदा करें जो उसने, ईश्वर ने हमारे साथ किए हैं और कर रहा है। कुदरती व्यवहार ज़ाहिर करे गए हैं और उनके असरात भी हर चीज़ को देखने से नुमायाँ होते हैं। मुख्तलिफ़ रंग मुख्तलिफ़ चीज़ों में पाए जाते हैं। बाग में एक फूल खिलता है, उसका रंग सुर्ख होता है। दूसरा फूल वहीं पर उगता है जिसका रंग जर्द या नीला होता है। गोया कुदरत अपना जलवा मुख्तलिफ़ रंगों में दिखा रही है। जिसको जैसी लियाकत और इस्तेदाद है उसको उसी की मुताबिक हिस्से में मिल रहा है। गोया वो उनके साथ इस तरह का व्यवहार अपने रूप में लिए हुए कर रही है। इस मिसाल हमको हर सूरत में बर्ताव के लिए मद्देनज़र रखना चाहिए। जहाँ पर जैसी ज़रूरत हो वैसा ही हम व्यवहार अदा करें। जब इस काम की हम आहंगी कुदरत से हो जाएगी तो उसमें असर पैदा हो जाएगा, जिसका नतीजा ये होगा कि लोगों का खींचाव हमारी तरफ होने लगेगा। अगर ये चीज़ ठीक तौर से अदा हो जाए और आप उसी के मुताबिक उसका हक़ दूसरों को देने लगे तो उनकी कशकश अस खुद आपकी तरफ मबदूल हो जाएगी। और ऐसी कशकश को मोहब्बत कहते हैं। जो दूसरों का हक़ आपके मद्देनज़र होगा तो दूसरे लोग इस ताकत के ज़ेर असर होकर जो आप में हम आहंगी पैदा होने से हुई है आपसे भी वही बर्ताव रखेंगे जिसके आप अहल हैं।
उसूल 9, अपना रहन सहन और व्यवहार ऐसा उम्दा बना ले कि जिसको देखने से लोगों में नेक ख्याली का एहसास हो और लोग उससे मोहब्बत करने लगे। हमको ताकत अपने ख्याल से मिलती है। ये कब? जब उसी के तरीके में अपनी चीज़ों में और जो उसकी बनाई हुई है हम समरसता हारमोनी पैदा कर लें। व्यवहार शब्द इतना व्यापक है कि ये कुल इस दायरे को समाविष्ट कर लेता है जो जात के बाद व्यक्त हुआ है। ईश्वर के व्यवहार में समानता भी है, मगर एक माने में। मसलन वो सबको बराबर रोशनी देता है। सबके सांस लेने के लिए उसने हवा पैदा की है और बहुत सी ऐसी चीजें बनाई हैं जो कि न केवल जिंदगी को विकसित करने वाली है बल्कि जिंदगी इन्हीं पर निर्भर भी है। इस बर्ताव को समानता कहते हैं। अब दूसरी चीज आती है जो उसके पास बन बनकर पहुंचती रहती है। उसके साथ बर्ताव और तरह का होता है। जाहिर है कि मिट्टी से बनी हुई चीज जब सामने आती है तो इंसान की नज़र उस पर और तरह की पड़ने लगती है। मिट्टी से हम जब खिलौना बनाते हैं तो एक गुना हमारी पसंद मिट्टी की तुलना में इससे ज़्यादा हो जाती है। इस तरह से जब इंसान बना बनाया उसके सामने पहुंचता है तो उसकी निगाह कुछ और ही हो जाती है। बस मालूम हो गया कि हमको अपने आप को ऐसा बनाना चाहिए ताकि उसकी निगाह हम पर ऐसी घूमे कि हम उस रोशनी को आकर्षित करने के लिए आकर्षण बिंदु बन जाए। ये व्यवहार कुदरत का है जिसकी हमें नकल करनी चाहिए। अब रोजाना की जिंदगी में जो हमारे सामने है, हम ऐसे ही व्यवहार अदा करें जो ईश्वर ने हमारे साथ किया है और कर रहा है। कुदरती व्यवहार जाहिर करे गए हैं और उनके प्रभाव भी हर चीज को देखने से प्रकट होते हैं। अलग अलग रंग अलग अलग चीजों में पाए जाते हैं। बाग में एक फूल खिलता है, उसका रंग लाल होता है। दूसरा फूल वहीं पर उगता है जिसका रंग पीला या नीला होता है। मानो कुदरत अपनी प्रतिभा विभिन्न रंगों में दिखा रही है। जिसकी जैसी क्षमता और योग्यता है उसको उसी के अनुसार हिस्सा मिल रहा है। मानो वो उनके साथ इस तरह का व्यवहार अपने रूप में लिए हुए कर रही है। इस मिसाल को हम हर हाल में बर्ताव के लिए मद्देनजर रखना चाहिए। जहां पर जैसी जरूरत हो वैसा ही हम व्यवहार अदा करें। जब इस काम की समरसता कुदरत से हो जाएगी तो उसमें असर पैदा हो जाएगा जिसका नतीजा ये होगा कि लोगों का खिंचाव हमारी तरफ होने लगेगा। अगर ये चीज ठीक तौर से अदा हो जाए और आप उसी के अनुसार उसका हक दूसरों को देने लगे तो उनका आकर्षण खुद ब खुद आपकी तरफ केंद्रित हो जाएगा और ऐसे आकर्षण को मोहब्बत कहते हैं। जब दूसरों का हक अपने मद्देनजर होगा तो दूसरे लोग इस ताकत के प्रभाव में रहकर जो आप में समरसता पैदा होने से हुई है, आपसे भी वही बर्ताव रखेंगे जिसके आप पात्र हैं।
Want people to explain their understanding or describe how they're following this suggestion. He says, अब रोजाना की जिंदगी में जो हमारे सामने है हम ऐसे ही व्यवहार अदा करें जो ईश्वर ने हमारे साथ किया है और कर रहा है. How is it being followed? Can anybody describe how it should be done and what it?
Sir, one thing is that why God is so kind to me. What is so special in me that He is so kind?
Yeah.
What is so great about me, or what I have done such a great thing that He is taking care of me on not only on daily basis but every moment that I am alive, that I am going around, and what is so special in me? So if he is taking care of me being such a normal person, then it is my duty to look similarly at other people. That is how I perceive it.
Any other people, how they follow this idea? I want how people are implementing it. I just, for the sake of talking Bodhayanti Parasparam, how, at least how you go about thinking about it. Like in one way now the Samsthan is trying to provide oxygenators and medicines about all. It reflects something like that. But I want people to come forward and describe what they are thinking, how they would like to implement, or they are implementing, or in future they would like to implement. उसके बारे में थोड़ा बोलो तो it will help the whole group, no? I'll read again. अब रोजाना की जिंदगी में जो हमारे सामने है, हम ऐसे ही व्यवहार अदा करें जो उसने, ईश्वर ने हमारे साथ किए है और कर रहा है. When we meet with friends, when we meet with political enemies, or we meet with enemies, or meet with friends who have so-called who have disloyal to our group, or who are left our group, or if you come across them, how do you behave and talk to them like that? And if you see scenes of inhumanity in the world, or scenes of political treachery, or whatever it is, how do you how do you behave like God is behaving?
It like not having prejudices of what happened in the past and behave the way as it is, like just today.
Okay.
And when you see something, some people are suffering or not feeling well, you sincerely pray for them with your whole heart.
Yes, sir. The feeling that I have majority of the times is that as it is said in the commentary, that the sunshine is given to all, right? Irrespective of whether I am this or I am that, or any of those things. So that feeling is there, right? When I'm talking, irrespective of whether they belong to this class or this, whatever the different professions, and that feeling is not there. Again, to me, this is a blessing of the master. Not so much anything that I did. It is because of attending and praying and taking pranahuti. There is a seamless feeling. Even the old thoughts or old any ill feelings and all, it's getting wiped away. The interactions are almost like I'm meeting for them for the first time, or meeting them with this thing. Like no past is coming in between.
Very good. But the psychological truth is, like, suppose any guest comes to our home, or any patient comes to us, if you meet any person, or when you think of any person, what are the thoughts? And those thoughts, how they are in tune with the way God is thinking. We have to think like that, because basically God is unconditional love. So whether you do any good to him, whether you abuse him or blame him for all the misfortunes of this corona or something, he will still love you and try to help you. That is the divine quality. Unconditional friendship with you. That is. So we have to copy that. That's what he says. Anyway, I just wanted how we are practically going about this. Because if, you must know that in yesterday's Sir's commentary on craving of soul, he has quoted Lalaji Maharaj's observation on the common psychology that suppose if I am criticizing anything, if I am finding fault with anybody, that fault is actually reflection from my own feeling. Actually, I have that feeling, but I suppress it into the subconscious mind. But my conscious mind thinks that I don't have that feeling. But actually, that feeling is reflected in the other person. Then you condemn that fellow, whatever reason. So that is one common psychology which is not understood by majority of the only some people who do MA psychology or they know this point, but general people they don't understand. But spirituality is absolutely essential to understand that when we find a fault with somebody, that fault is already there with us. It is just getting reflected in that other person. That is why when Sir has asked Babuji and all that, they are trained in such a way that they cannot find fault in the other person because there's no fault in them that is get reflected in the other person. They'll see the other person as God only. And when they see godly qualities in him, only that thing comes forward in front of the master's awareness. The negative point will not come because there is no negative point in this person. So as we are meditating and if your mind is trying to get absorbed in the divine light will come and influence your mind and you get more and more divine qualities. Then your irritation and then dealing without dealing with people in an indifferent manner is also not divine like. That is when you're meeting people, you should be fully present in that moment and give a proper respect to them. Then probably we can conclude that our meditation is going on correctly. Otherwise, this can be a mirror or a yardstick for our progress actually. Anybody further comments on this?
Yes, sir. What I think, like, since God is just and balanced, He gives everyone equally.
Yeah.
Whatever they are going through is because of their past actions, and we can always help them, considering that, okay, whatever help we can provide during that phase is going to be helpful for that person to go through that phase easily.
Actually, this point was well addressed by Sri Ishwar Sahaji in his book True Path, Light on the Dark, this thing. There he talks of, he says we should due regard to people. Suppose a person is, people work under us, so we should be honest and give due regard to whatever work they're doing, proper compensation you're doing. Even though there may be certain times if you're administratively involved, you may have to punish people, but you'll be punishing for the act. But there should not be any hatred inside, or there should be love for the person whom you're punishing as an administrative requirement. He discusses it very nicely in that. If you have some occasion, we'll read about those. That's a beautiful book, important for practice actually.
Is this what is called the Vyavahara when it's mentioned in the commandment, like how you are acting?
He gives two different aspects of nature. He says you should copy nature. One is, he says, like suppose the same thing is beautifully described by Ishwar Sahaji. One aspect of God is he gives light equally to all people, whether he's a criminal or a young person, an old person, different race or class. He gives light equally to everybody, light, air equally to everybody. So that is one way he deals. But he gives another example. He says, like a mud is there, is there, but out of the mud you made a pot or a beautiful, whatever figurine, like a elephant or whatever it is. So your appreciation of this thing is much better. You like the art of that object, which may be useful to you. It may carry water and all that. So that will be treated differently. In the same way, suppose we have a mind now, and we have a mind where it is a spectrum where, from one end to other end, suppose there is more of darkness, or there is more of grossness, or less of grossness. Grossness means the divine is present in all the people, in both good people and bad people. In good people, more divine is exposed. In bad people, less divine is exposed. So if you, by your cleaning and by your behavior, by being compassionate, by being friendly, by not feeling envy or jealous, and then treating with justice and treating people with then more divine qualities are expressed. If more divine qualities are expressed, is something like a pot or something you made of clay, you're more, that has got more value in the eyes of God. That is the idea which he's talking. So Vyavahara can be uniform in certain situations, can be like, suppose I'm a doctor, and suppose I give a order to my nurse or resident to do certain dressing or do this procedure on him. They don't do it because of laziness or because of simply or do an insincere job. So then it is my Vyavahara. My Vyavahara should be that I should call him and say, our duty is to look after the patient properly. You are not done your discharge, your duty properly. So I am punishing you for this act. I will not teach you surgery, or I'll throw you out of my operation theater for 10 days. That is a punishment I'm giving you. But I will not hate him. I am trying to correct him so that in future he will discharge the duties which are required for the organization for which he is working. So that is a kind of a Vyavahara. So one way you can take this as a Vyavahara, one way where you are uniform, just like God, you are treating like that. So that is the idea. Like,
so
what happens
I want to give like a practical example here. So Pujya sir had to suspend one of his employees, which means he had to suffer pay loss. So while he did that, he personally lended his own money so that his family doesn't suffer. So we see like both actions. One is like showing uniformity, and then the other is compassion, because as a human we are supposed to extend that. So that's
in fact, I had this opportunity to you see, I was a adjutant of a medical battalion of 600 troops. Adjutant is a very powerful post next to the commanding officer. I had to be responsible for discipline and all that. So there were some Telugu people in my unit in 5 Mountain Dew. Those people felt that, I speak Telugu, so they felt, so they tried to take advantage. But I was very uniform in my discharging. If that fellow is coming late for 1 day or something, absent without leave, whoever he may be, he will be punished because he has transgressed the discipline actually. But afterwards I used to talk them normally to everybody. But then rule has to be uniformly implemented because that is justice. So in that way, Vyavahara, each person, depending on the station of life, depending on the situations where he's existing, whether you're in a family setup, you will have servants, you have in-laws, you have neighbors and friends. How you deal with each of them is that is a wisdom which naturally grows if you're meditating properly. So, but if you have biases, then we treat our close friends or our family members from our side, and then family members coming from the wife's side or in-laws side, we will be not so like that. I mean, that all we can watch ourselves, and then we know how much vyavahara we are doing, how much correctly we are doing, imitating God in our interaction with different people. So your patient comes, he's a Muslim patient, he's a Hindu patient. How are you treating them? Are you treating them the same way? Suppose a person comes who is of a political affiliation which you don't like, and then how are you treating them? You treat them, but in the heart, do you still feel this fellow should change his opinion to suit my political affiliation? Or then all those things come into picture. It's very complex day-to-day going about life and all that. But Ishwar Sahai's article beautifully has mentioned book actually.
So actually, one relevant thing I read yesterday it was published in our Satyapadam, the article on constant remembrance.
Okay.
Where Sir has brought this concept of sarupyata. So we have to become equivalent to nature. So law of equivalence.
Yeah.
And then I'll just read one paragraph from that. So he writes, no one other than Master stated this principle of equivalence better. By being in complete oneness with the Master, it follows that if Master is merciful, we should also become merciful. As he is called gracious, we are also to be gracious. As he is called holy, we too shall be holy. The importance of complying with the 10 commandments of the Master can be easily understood when we know these implications. We then shall become personifications of the forbearing, compassionate, righteous, and all such good, noble, and godly qualities. Oneness with the Master or God shall lie in conducting ourselves in such a way to resemble Him as much as one can. I request all to study in depth the lives of the Masters and educate the children in this regard. That is our duty and should be our way of loving the Master. Master said, love him who loves all. I prefer to appeal, live in such a manner that he would live in us.
Yeah,
So,
I think Sir's that article is a guiding light for the question I have raised, how to like that. I mean, when he says, हमें ऐसा ही व्यवहार अदा करें जो उसने हमारे साथ किया है और कर रहा है. So I think what you just read, it is a practice we have to do that. It is a practical thing.
so this article is published in Satyapadam, which was just sent here. It was a talk given by Sahib.
Any other contribution from any of the people listening to this talk? You want to how?
In one talk, Sir says God doesn't count our mistakes, and
Yeah.
and patience is something that we can certainly, because He's very, very patient with us, and we can develop so much more patience towards people who we love and who also we don't love as much.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll go to the English, read the English commentary by Babu. I'll read the English one. Later on, we'll read Sir's commentary and Dr. KCV's commentary. So maxim number 9, mold your living so as to rouse a feeling of love and piety in others. We get power from our thought. It happens only when we create perfect harmony between things of our making and those of the divine. The word vyavahara, practical dealings, carries a wide meaning. It covers the entire sphere, which falls next to the ultimate. There is uniformity in divine dealings, but only in a particular sense. For example, he gives light equally to all. He has created air for all to breathe in, and so also many other things which foster the growth of life and sustain our very existence. This can be interpreted as the uniformity of nature's dealings, vyavahara. There are other things too which present themselves in a modified form, and they are dealt with in a different way. It is obvious that when a thing made of clay comes before us, we take a different view of it, and our liking for it is increased in comparison to the mass of clay which it is made up of. Similarly, when a man approaches God after proper making of himself, he takes a different view of him. This goes to explain that we should effect such a making of ourselves as may help us to become the cynosure of his eyes. This dealing of nature we have to copy and apply in our daily life. Nature's dealings described above are manifested in diverse ways. The variety of colors in different objects is an instance of it. A flower blossoms in red color, another close by in yellow or blue. Thus nature manifests herself in different colors, each object receiving its due share according to its capacity and worth. In other words, she is dealing with them in her own particular way. This example must be kept in view, and all our dealings must be molded accordingly, with due regard to proper needs and fair right of everyone, and bring them in close conformity with those of nature. This will add further force to its effectiveness, and people will be attracted towards you. It will create a feeling of love in their hearts, and they'll begin to behave with you in the manner which you duly deserve. The problem which I feel, which I think, which people should quickly outgrow from it is likes and dislikes, or pain and happiness, or praise and blame, or these are the opposites. I mean, one of the characteristics of a person who is liberated or moved into Brahmanda consciousness is called equanimity. A person should have equanimity. Suppose somebody praises you or somebody blames you, our mind should not get disturbed. Or some of your friend who stands for election, he's lost, so you're depressed, and then the other person, enemy wins, and then you become angry and then revengeful or something like that. So that is, unless two forces are there, you cannot know about good unless a bad is there. Suppose if the bad person is not there, you will not know about the good of this person. So good is known only as an opposition to bad. So bad is also equally required for you to appreciate what is good. Suppose politically a person or some chief minister is there, or some CEO is there who is better for performing fellow, you will start praising him. You are praising him because you are able to compare with a poorly performing fellow. So poorly performing fellow is actually essential requirement for you to know that this fellow is a better worker and all that. So the idea is that in spirituality we are not trying to find what is good in life or what is bad in this earth and then take sides. Actually, we have to transcend both good and bad. That is why equanimity will come. That is why sukha dukkha samakrutva will happen. So bad is equally necessary for you to understand what is good. So you don't have to get that network actually. So I thought this was a very common problem. Okay, so that is the this is not understood. One of the reason why we are doing meditation is we want to have achieved freedom from misery, and misery is due to the undisciplined mind. Undisciplined mind is due to seeing your polarities. You have to transcend the polarities. If you are looking for happiness, automatically pain will be there. Joy will be there, suffering will be automatic. It is two sides of the same coin. That's why when sir initially when he gave my book No Boundary Consciousness, he gave that was written by Paul Brunton, one of the first book written by Paul Brunton. He's brilliant in the way he has written. He says human being has got the mistake of thinking that good exists or happiness exists and it can be neatly divided as two separate existences. It is not so. A coin, there cannot be a coin with only one side. If good is there, bad is automatically there. So if you think that you will have happiness only, which can exist independently, if you want happiness, pain also will be coming side by side. So suppose night is there, day will be automatically coming. Suppose you have fever, there will be a state where there will be no fever. So both are coexisting. But mind has got a very peculiar concept that happiness has got an independent existence and pain has got an independent existence. So if you try hard, you can just acquire happiness and then divorce it from pain and all that. So which is one of the primary aim of meditation is to transcend this dualities, no? Anyway, if there are no questions, we'll go to Sir's talk actually. If spiritual person complaining means it's not anybody want to talk or comment about my comments and all that? Because just by talking only there will be clarity of issues, no? Otherwise, how will we learn from each other? Only when discussion happens about some topic, some clarity will emerge. Otherwise, if you just read and think that you have understood everything, understanding happens from manana. That means you view the idea from different angles. You get a different viewpoints from all those sides, and then only understanding will come. And after the understanding will come, assimilation of the understanding is what is called ayavastha.
Sir, one thing about this is that we try to be judgmental. In the sense, in every situation, we make ourselves as the judge, and then we try to see it from our point of view. So, being judgmental itself is leading to a lot of problems in this regard.
You are correct, but why does judgment take place? What is, you go to the cause of it. Why are you judging, first of all?
Because we want to be feeling on the right side of the situation. That only if we are judgmental and we say, okay, he is wrong, then I feel comfortable. Yes, I am right. So that kind of psychological, so to say, beating the other person down or something. Yes, we don't have to be.
Can anybody? You're fine, but I want some other inputs. Why do we judge things?
It is that ego in action.
Our ego.
Ego in action.
Okay, what else?
The feeling of separateness from the individual. I mean, maybe lack of oneness. If you feel one with them, you feel it's our own, something that is lacking in us as well, as you mentioned earlier.
Sir, I think you've already mentioned it is a reflection of our own inadequacies, actually, right? I think we are masking it in the form of this right or wrong. I've actually felt this many times that Sir also said that if you are actually seeing something in the other, that must be there in you. Like he used to say, that's the combustible material in you. That is there, which is taking shape, right? The same situation I would see Pujya sir or some senior practicant in the system dealing completely differently versus the way I would take that situation, because that feeling or that polarity that you talked about is there in me. So that is what is getting reflected.
Thanks for talking. Any other inputs? Because there's more to this judging business than what it superficially appears.
Maybe some fixated opinions, sir, on the other person without properly understanding them, and some prejudiced kind of opinion where we are not trying to see the other person.
No,
in a proper way.
my question was different. Why does judgment happen, first of all?
We feel
Judgment
we are
is
right
because of our concepts, right? Because we have a certain concept that this should be this way, or this is right, or this is wrong. So once we are free from those concepts, then it is just as it is. And then we will not be judging the things.
Yeah, okay, something
So
like.
if I can add,
Yeah.
actually, instead of saying concept, they are based on preconceived notions which are created out of our past impressions, and remembering everything, and not leaving any thoughts, which obviously we are trying to do. But then this preconceived notion create a lot of judgments.
Okay, any other inputs? Any other people? I want people to talk freely because we want to improve our understanding about how the mind functions, because improvement of understanding helps us to implement these 10 commandments properly. So I want more people to participate in this discussion. Anybody else wants to speak? Because we want more inputs, because it is a learning, Bodhayanti Parasparam actually.
जब हम डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस में होते, जैसे कि भंडारास है, और मतलब वी आर मोर रीडिंग, वी हैव फेथ ऑन मास्टर एंड डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस पर हमारे अंदर होती है, तब वो जजमेंटल थिंग्स वो सब आता ही नहीं है. वी बिहेव लाइक व्हाट मास्टर वांट्स टू बिहेव. बट जब वो चला जाता है, वी आर नॉट इन कांस्टेंट रिमेम्बरेंस और डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस नहीं होती हम में, तो हम जजमेंटल थिंग आते हैं और अदर बिहेवियर हम लाइक नॉर्मल बिहेवियर आ जाता है. तो वो बात तभी जज करने लगते हैं, मतलब व्हाट एवर अकॉर्डिंग टू पर्सन, तो वो बात आ जाती है. तो वो डिफरेंस है कि जब आप डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस में हो तो मास्टर गॉड विद इन यू विल work or speak or right thing only. And right, everything will happen right. You will not judge anybody or anything. But if it is not in divine tune with divine consciousness,
yeah, I think you have come very closer to the I feel is the correct understanding of the situation. But anyway, let me tell you, there are two ways of understanding what is judgment. Judgment is inherent in this, is built into our, evolutionarily, it is built into our mind actually. That means every time whenever we are interacting with the world, so we have a feeling like earlier man is there, suppose he sees a fruit and he eats the fruit, then he gets a feeling that this is promote my life. So he judges that this is good. So next time he will try to eat a fruit. Suppose if it is bitter and all that, it is poisonous, then there's a judgment that is bad. So this feeling, whenever the feeling is there, there's a judgment, whether good or bad. Good promotes life, bad helps you move towards death. That's one thing. So judgment is inherent in the mechanism of the functioning of the mind for your survival in this world. But talking from a spiritual point of view, what Meghna, she is talking is true, because actually the reality is one. That means from Shobh, all of us have come. I mean, whole world, everything is, God is present, is omnipresent. So he is present in the objects, in the subject, and in between the space between the subject and object, which helps us have perception about external things. Everything is God only. So we have come out of that, mind has left the homeland. So once the mind has come out of the homeland, it is called avidya, or to Christian analogy, if you take, you eaten the forbidden apple and you're thrown out of heaven. So we are all thrown out of heaven, and then we are now, the moment that avidya comes, automatically ego also automatically arises simultaneously. The moment you come out of the homeland, automatically ego comes. Ego is, like suppose I am there, when I confronted with an object could be a fruit or an apple or a human being, or even my mental thought of some politician or something, when I confront, automatically judgment will be there, because it forces you to come to a judgment. Is it good or not? इससे दोस्ती करना है नहीं करना है, ये चीज should I acquire it or not acquire it, is it? So automatically you will be forced to judge. That is the inbuilt mechanism under the spell of avidya. When you are out of your homeland, you will be, as long as ego is there, judgment is an automatic process. If you meet any person, you meet any car or a scooter or whatever it is, they confront you, they'll force you to judge, and you will judge whether good or bad. And when you start seeing God everywhere, and you're also in meditation, you feel yourself connected to God because of your constant practice. And mind is, as you think, so you become. And as you, if you rest your mind, the thought is formed a link between your mind and the Kshobh, or the divinity inside your heart. And as long as you keep on strengthening the link by your practice, and because of the grace of the God, Guru establishes the link between your mind and God. And as you keep meditating, that links become stronger and stronger. As the link becomes stronger and stronger, more of the divine vibration through that link enters into your mind, and then the divine qualities come into you. So you'll start feeling the other person was also God. So that means the other person is no more an object. It is a part of an expanded self. So that judgment vanishes. Judgment, you cannot judge whether this hand is good or bad. It's meaningless. It is part of you. Only you will judge when you consider the other thing is separate from you. So a person who is meditating, who is moved, like all the trainers are supposed to be in Brahmanda consciousness. If he is in that place, he has transcended the judging process. If you read Babuji's small tips for spiritual progress, he says, as long as you have likes and dislikes, you know that your ego is there. As long as ego is there, judgment becomes automatic. If you practice in such a way that you are moving on the path, a stage comes when the doership goes away, then automatically the judgment also vanishes. You'll stop judging. You know, that is called universal love. That is when you, then naturally you'll be following the sixth commandment. So judging is directly the result of not feeling the presence of God. You said correctly. That's why in Bandaras you don't judge anybody, because you are in an atmosphere, you feel the presence. Your answer was very correct actually. So we are supposed to feel that 24 hours of the day. That is what is meant by constant remembrance. Now yesterday we had a discussion, we had a book reading session with Raina and all that. So this question of constant remembrance came. Actually, constant remembrance, people have a very wrong notion actually. The constant remembrance means, I gave the example of why people are happy when they're involved in sports. When you like suppose you are doing office work or you are eating food, you are supposed to be following the 8th commandment. What happens? Our mind is a monkey mind and a scatterbrain. So physically you are there, but your mind will be thinking about conference mein, seminar mein, paper mein kya thoughts likhu. While eating, you are supposed to think about remember God and eat. But then there is no harmony between your mind and body. Your body is there, mind is somewhere else. Whereas when you're playing sports, your full mind will be there. If your mind is thinking, पिछले वो outswinger डाला तो अभी मैं गलत किया बोले तो, then he's out. He should be in the zone. That means your mind and body should be in harmony. Then only that is the correct way of doing any job. So when you are doing an office work, your mind should be in the body and you should be fully involved in that office work. Before doing that office work, you should make a suggestion to yourself that this work I am surrendering it to master. Afterwards, at that time, you should not allow your mind to be distracted by politics or home problems or electricity problems or corona problems and all that. If you are distracted, that means you are not doing the constant, as Babuji said. He said, you think that master is doing. When master is doing, he'll be sincere in his doing. Sincere means there will be a unity between the mind and body. Mind will not be a scatterbrain. Scatterbrain is an insincerity. So if whatever job you are doing, if you are doing it very sincerely, that is constant remembrance. This is very badly understood. People think that, Sir has also said, like suppose you're operating at that time, you think about master, you'll be killing the patient. That is not constant remembrance. Constant remembrance will be in the background. Subconsciously it will be there. But you should be, your mind and body should be involved in the work sincerely. That is constant remembrance. This question was raised yesterday. Raina raised it and then I could not answer because I didn't have much time. But since it was I felt like telling, I'm telling actually. If you do constant remembrance, then the condition which you have in Bandaras, we will continue during our day-to-day life also. And then judgment will not be there. If judgment is not there, you are stabilized in universal consciousness, where automatically universal love is automatically there. It requires hard work. At least the aspiration of Babuji and Sir was that the trainers will work hard because they have to show the way to the people who want to learn about spiritual life, who want to enjoy the freedom of liberation and all that. So somebody has to take up the hard work of being disciplined, so that your mind should be naturally be relaxed and naturally be in a zone of peace and tranquility without effort. But to reach that state, you have to put in effort. That is what is meant by devotion. Devotion is nothing but you're making an effort so that your mind becomes stable, where no effort is required afterwards. That is called Sahaja Samadhi. When the unconscious mind is totally purified, conscious mind will be natural for it to be friendly with everybody. You don't have to make an effort to practice 9th commandment or 8th commandment. Your living itself becomes an example for others. Okay, anything, Dharmesh, sir का पढ़ेंगे अभी?
ठीक है, I'll share that one.
I mean, I want some feedback, whether I'm clear in my ideas or not, whether you feel that anything further had to be added, because this understanding is important actually. Judgment, yes. Vishnu brought up this idea. We have to understand it properly. Otherwise, we cannot. Understanding is viveka, and understanding helps us to practice better actually.
So actually, I feel that Commandment 6, which Vivek brought, that when our attention is not on the divine, on the other person, then we tend to judge his
that's right. Yeah, that's
outer form. But the Commandment 6 is about looking at the other person, the divinity in other person, right?
Yeah.
So then the judgment will not be there. So I feel that answer also very
naturally. That is why another advice he has given is, he says, whenever you're free, when you are standing in the bus stand for the bus or in the market, whenever you're free, he says, with a firm conviction, think that God is pervading all animate and inanimate things, and you're thinking about him, and try to remain in that thought as long as possible. This will be a happy pastime as well, he says. And he says, this is, I repeat that this invariably has to be practiced, he says. So most of us have a lot of free time. So what prevents us from practicing this?
Actually, on Commandment 9, I have one point on which if we can deliberate. So the first line says we get power from our thought.
Yeah.
That is the first line of this one.
Yes.
And it happens only when we create perfect harmony between things of our making and those of the divine.
Yeah.
So we getting power from the thought only when our thought is in harmony with the divine. Is that what you interpreted?
From the psychological point of view, this is the truth, no? There is now science has proved that there is no such thing called free will. You think that you have a free will. I mean, you just imagine whatever you are thinking that you are doing actually is actually being done by the unfoldment of the samskaras. Samskaras are forces. When that force comes into the conscious mind, you do an action. But to maintain a semblance that you are in control, you spin a story and say that I have done it. But actually it is being done automatically by the effect of the samskara. But we want to maintain a facade that we are in control. We believe that we are in control. You think that you are doing it. But actually the samskara comes on its own and it does its work on its own. But the ego is something like a, you must understand this way. Suppose there's a pond is there and then you are standing by the edge of the pond. Your reflection is there in that pond. That reflection is the ego actually. So ego is actually a reflection of God. And the intellect there's a technical term in Sanskrit called adhyasa. There is the God is reflecting in the mind and the chittavrittis are reflecting in God. So there is as a result of this transposition or the interaction between Purusha and Prakriti, the idea of ahankara comes. Ego is nothing but a confusion between the power of seeing and the instrument of seeing. I is the instrument of seeing, and the power of seeing is the God. Actually, if Kena Upanishad, we see the seer behind the eye is seeing or the ear is hearing, but the actual power which causes you to hear is the pranasya prana, which Dr. Varadachari beautifully keeps on talking about it. Pranasya prana is the Atman or God actually. But because of the reflection of the pranasya prana into the intellect feels that it is independent, and that feeling is ego. That really does not have any power at all. Only when the ego is disappears and the mind is in harmony with the universal mind, then the real power comes. So most of us, we imagine like it is just like you imagine a puppet show. The fellow with the strings attached to his fingers, he will make the puppet move. And the puppet thinks it is moving on its own, and that is ego actually. But it is moved by the power. And if the puppet gives up the idea that he is moving on its own, but it is moved by the will of God and he surrenders to the will of God, then real power comes into picture. I don't know whether I was able to explain it or not, but that is the idea. Real power comes only when you're when the shadow stops thinking that it is a real thing. Vidyadhar, are you able to agree with my thinking?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking thought, every kind of thought has some power, right? Because
every kind of thought every thought is a form of God only. Lord Krishna is present in every thought, everybody's thought. Every thought is God only, nothing. There's no confusion about it. Only thing you think is not God. You think you're that is created by me. You think you're the CEO, but it is not so.
Just trying to understand these two sentences together. It happens only when we create perfect harmony within things.
That is, when your mind is in harmony with the divine mind, then only real power comes in. Then only your Babuji's idea of life in life means only that. When divinity is fully exposed in your conscious mind and when it starts operating, then only that is life in life. Then only you are leading an eternal life. Everything becomes natural to you. There's no the idea of death and is meaningless in that kind of mind, which is in which the divinity is totally unfolded, and then it is fully operational in your mind. Actually, yoga means
so
that
this
union
also
only. That means your mind. Yoga basically means union of your human consciousness, the divine consciousness. When unity happens, you cannot say which is, like if the Godavari goes into the Bay of Bengal. I mean, how can you say this water belongs to Godavari, this water belongs to Bay of Bengal? Dono ek ho jate na. Yoga is basically union of human consciousness, divine consciousness. We are moving in that direction, and that is yoga is that only. So unless yoga happens, you'll not get real power.
So this also alludes to how Pranahuti works.
No, it's a very Pranahuti is mysterious feelings. You cannot put it in language. Language is basically the main problem which creates misery. Actually, language is the problem which makes you feel that you are different from God. If there is no language, we are all in laya with God. Actually.
Sir, can I ask a question based on a few of the things we know about our mythological civilization that we had?
Yeah.
So the discussion which is having right now is on thought, right? And as you rightly said, till the time we are in perfect harmony with divine, we do not get the real power. But as Lord Krishna has described, there are two types of people. One is Devik and one is Asuric.
Yeah.
And we also know that Asuras have got also a humongous amount of power. Yeah. But they are not in tune with divine. So how are these people which he has described as Asuric getting their power from? What is the source of their power? Because that's definitely not divine.
I will just 1 minute. I'm looking for a book. I'll just come. If all of you agree.
Yeah, that's fine. Since we are on the topic, let's do it.
Go ahead. I mean, there's a story. This is narrated by Swami Vivekananda. I will read it, and after the end of the reading, all the questions read by Joshi and Shakti will automatically get answered. Should I go ahead? It will take about 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it is a story about Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi. Okay. So I'm just reading it. And this is a story. Swami Vivekananda is talking to some, I think, European audiences. So I'm just reading it. Yajnavalkya was a great sage. You know the Shastras in India enjoin that every man should give up the world when he becomes old. So Yajnavalkya said to his wife, "My beloved, here is all my money and my possessions, and I'm going away." She replied, "Sir, if I had this whole earth full of wealth, would that give me immortality?" Yajnavalkya said, "No, it will not. You will be rich, and that will be all. But wealth cannot give us immortality." She replied, "What shall I do to gain that through which I shall become immortal? If you know, tell me." Yajnavalkya replied, You have been always my beloved. You are more beloved now by this question. Come, take your seat, and I will tell you. And when you have heard, meditate upon it. He said, it is not for the sake of the husband that the wife loves the husband, but for the sake of the Atman that she loves the husband, because she loves the self. Later on, I will tell you the story told by Swami Ramatirtha. If I have occasion, I'll talk to you about it, which talks about the same thing. None loves the wife for the sake of the wife, but it is because one loves the self that one loves the wife. None loves the children for the children, but because one loves the self, therefore one loves the children. None loves wealth on account of the wealth, but because one loves the self, therefore one loves wealth. None loves the Brahmin for the sake of the Brahmin, but because one loves the self, one loves the Brahmin. So none loves the Kshatriya for the sake of Kshatriya, but because one loves the self, self. Neither does anyone love the world on account of the world, but because one loves the self. None similarly loves gods on account of the gods, but because one loves the self. None loves a thing for that thing's sake, but it is for the self that one loves it. This self, therefore, is to be heard, reasoned about, and meditated upon. Oh my Maitreyi, when that self has been heard, when that self has been seen, when that self has been realized, then all things become known. What do we get then? Before we find a curious philosophy, before us we find a curious philosophy. The statement has been made that every love is selfishness in the lowest sense of the word. Because I love myself, therefore I love another. It cannot be. There has been philosophers in modern times who have said that self is the only motive power in the world. That is true, and yet it is wrong. But this self is but the shadow of that real self which is behind. It appears wrong and evil because it is small. That infinite love for the self, which is the universe, appears to be evil, appears to be small because it appears through a small part. Even when the wife loves the husband, whether she knows it or not, she loves the husband for that self. It is selfishness as it is manifested in the world. But that selfishness is really but a small part of that selfness. Whenever one loves, one has to love in and through the self. This self has to be known. What is the difference? I mean, when he is talking of this self, that is the divine light without luminosity. Those that love the self without knowing what it is, their love is selfishness. Those that love knowing what that self is, their love is free. They are sages. Him the Brahmin gives up who sees the Brahmin anywhere else but in the self. Him the Kshatriya gives up who sees Kshatriya anywhere else but in the self. The world gives him up who sees this world anywhere but in that Atman. The gods give him up who lives the gods knowing them to be anywhere but else but in the Atman. Everything goes away from him who knows everything as something else except the Atman. These Brahmins, these Kshatriyas, this world, these gods, whatever exists, everything is that Atman. Thus he explains what he means by love. Every time we particularize an object, we differentiate it from the self. I'm trying to love a woman. As soon as that woman is particularized, she is separated from the Atman. And my love for her will not be eternal, but will end in grief. But as soon as I see that woman as the Atman, that love becomes perfect and will never suffer. So with everything, so as soon as you are attached to anything in the universe, detaching it from the universe as a whole, from that Atman, there comes a reaction. With everything that we love outside the self, grief and misery will be the result. If we enjoy everything in the self and as the self, no misery or reaction will come. This is perfect bliss. How to come to this ideal? Yajnavalkya goes on to tell us the process by which to reach that state. The universe is infinite. How can we take every particular thing and look at it as the Atman without knowing the Atman? As with a drum, when we are at a distance, we cannot catch the sound. We cannot conquer the sound. But as soon as we come to the drum and put our hand on it, the sound is conquered. When the conch shell is being blown, we cannot catch or conquer the sound until we come near and get hold of the shell, and then it is conquered. When the veena is being played, when we have come to the veena, we get to the center where the sound is proceeding. As when someone is burning Damp fuel, smoke and sparks of various kinds come. Even so from this great one, even so from this great one has been breathed out knowledge. Everything has come out of him. He breathed out as it were all knowledge. As to all water, the one goal is the ocean. As to all touch, the skin is the one center. As of all smell, the nose is the one center. As to all taste, the tongue is one goal. As of all form, the eyes are the one goal. Of all sounds, the ears are the one goal. As of all thought, the mind is the one goal. As of all knowledge, the heart is the one goal. As of all work, the hands are the one goal. As a morsel of salt put into the sea water melts away, we cannot take it back. Even so, Maitreyi is this universal being, eternally infinite. All knowledge is in him. The whole universe rises from him and again goes down into him. No more is there any knowledge, dying or death. We get the idea that we have all come just like sparks from him. And when you know him, then you go back and become one with him again. We are the universal. Maitreyi became frightened, just as everywhere people became frightened. Said she, "Sir, here is exactly where you have thrown a delusion over me. You have frightened me by saying that there will be no more gods. All individuality will be lost. There will be no one to recognize, no one to love, no one to hate. What will become of us?" Maitreyi, I do not mean to puzzle you, or rather let it rest here. You may be frightened. Where there are two, one sees another, one hears another, one welcomes another, one thinks of another, one knows another. But when the whole has become that Atman, who is seen by whom? Who is to be heard by whom? Who is to be welcomed by whom? Who is to be known by whom? That one idea was taken by Schopenhauer and echoed in his philosophy. Through whom we know this universe, through what to know him, how to know the knower, how to know the knower, by what means can we know the knower? How can that be? Because in and through that we know everything. By what means can we know him? By no means, for he is that means. So far the idea is that is all one infinite being. That is the real individuality. When there is no more division, no more parts, these little ideas are very low, elusive. But yet, in and through every spark of the individuality is shining that infinite. Everything is a manifestation of the Atman. How to reach that? First, you make the statement, just as Yajnavalkya himself tells us. The Atman is first to be heard of. So he stated the case. Then he argued it out. And last, demonstration of how to know that, through which all knowledge is possible. Then last, it is to be meditated upon. He takes the contrast, the microcosm and the macrocosm, and shows how they are rolling on in particular lines and how it is all beautiful. This earth is so blissful, so helpful to every being, and all beings are so helpful to this earth. All these are manifestations of that self-effulgent one, the Atman. All that is bliss, even in the lowest sense, is but the reflection of him. All that is good is his reflection. And when that reflection is a shadow, it is called evil. There are no two gods. When he is less manifested, it is called darkness, evil. And when he is more manifested, it is called light. That is all. God and evil are only a question of degree, more manifested or less manifested. Just take the example of our own lives. How many things we see in our childhood which we think to be good, but which really are evil? And how many things seem to be evil which are good? How the ideas change, how an idea goes up and up. What we thought very good at one time, we do not think so good now. So good and evil are but superstitions and do not exist. The difference is only in degree. It is all a manifestation of that Atman. He is being manifested in everything only. When the covering is very thick, we call it evil. And when it is very thin, we call it good. It is the best when all covering goes away. So everything that is in the universe is to be meditated upon in that sense alone. That we can see it as all good, because it is the best. There is evil and there is good, and the apex, the center, is the reality. He is neither evil nor good. He is the best. The best can be only one. The good can be many and the evil many. There will be degrees of variation between the good and the evil, but the best is only one. And that best, when seen through thin coverings, we call different sorts of good. And when seen through thick covers, we call evil. Good and evil are different forms of superstition. They have gone through all sorts of dualistic delusion and all sorts of ideas. and the words have sunk into the hearts of human beings, terrorizing men and women and living there as terrible tyrants. They make us become tigers. All the hatred with which we hate others is caused by these foolish ideas which we have imbibed since our childhood, good and evil. Our judgment of humanity becomes entirely false. We make this beautiful earth a hell. But as soon as we can give up good and evil, it becomes a heaven. This earth is blissful. Sweet is the literal translation to all beings, and all beings are sweet to this earth. They all help each other, and all the sweetness is the Atman, that effulgent immortal one who is inside this earth. Whose is this sweetness? How can there be any sweetness but he? That one sweetness is manifesting itself in various ways. Wherever there is any love, any sweetness in any human being, either in a saint or a sinner, either in an angel or a murderer, either in the body, mind, or senses, it is he. Physical enjoyments are but he. Mental enjoyments are but he. Spiritual enjoyments are but he. How can there be anything but he? How can there be 20,000 gods and devils fighting with each other? Childish dreams. Whatever is the lowest physical enjoyment is he, and the highest spiritual enjoyment is he. There is no sweetness but he. Thus says Yajnavalkya. When you come to that state and look upon all things with the same eye, when you see even in the drunkard's pleasure, in drunk only that sweetness, then you have got the truth. And then alone you will know what happiness means, what peace means, what love means. And so long as you make these vain distinctions, silly, childish, foolish superstitions, all sorts of misery will come. But the immortal one, the effulgent one, he is inside the earth. It is all his sweetness, and the same sweetness is in the body. This body is the earth, and as it were, inside all the powers of the body, all the enjoyments of the body is he. The eyes see, the skin touches. What are all these enjoyments? That self-effulgent one who is in the body, he is the Atman. This world, so sweet to all beings, and every being so sweet to it, is but the self in the effulgent. The immortal is the bliss in that world, in us also. He is that bliss, he is the Atman. This air is so sweet to all beings, and all beings are so sweet to it. But he who is that self-effulgent immortal being in the air is also in this body. He is expressing himself as the life of all beings. The sun is so sweet to all beings. All beings are so sweet to the sun. He who is a self-effulgent being in the sun, we reflect him as a smaller light. What can be there but his reflection? He is in the body, and it is his reflection which makes us see the light. The moon is so sweet to all, and everyone is so sweet to the moon. But that self-effulgent and immortal one who is the soul of that moon, he is in us expressing himself as mind. This lightning is so beautiful. Everyone is so sweet to the lightning. But the self-effulgent and immortal one is the soul of this lightning and is also in us, because all is that Brahman. The Atman, the self, is the king of all beings. These ideas are very helpful to men. They are for meditation. For instance, meditate on the earth, think of the earth, and at the same time know that we have that which is in the earth, that both are the same. Identify the body with the earth and identify the soul with the soul behind. Identify the air with the soul that is in the air and that is in me. They are all one, manifested in different forms. To realize this unity is the end and aim of all meditation. And this is what Yajnavalkya was trying to explain to Maitreyi. I mean, I thought this will clear all the basic ideas about meditation. Shakti, I think now that will answer your question, because of avidya, because of ego, we are not able to feel the God in us. Because yesterday again, Rajkumar put this question, sir, how is that we are feeling so much of grace in this satsang and all that? I put a simple question. Now, right from childhood, we have been told the story of Prahlada, and Prahlada, this father asked, your Hari Narayana is, where is he? He asked. He says he's present everywhere. So is he present in this stambam, I mean, in this pillar? He says, yes, he's there. So if God is omnipresent, how can we say that he's not present in every cell of our body? So the moment we feel that we are less than him, a vacuum is created and he fills up that vacuum. That's why we feel the grace and peace when we meditate, actually. So the idea that he is sitting in Shahjahanpur, he is sitting in Banaras or Makkah and all that is a superstition. I think we'll go to Sir's talk. We have spent a lot of time now.
Yeah,
so in one glimpse, when you were talking about that constant remembrance, in one glimpse, it pulled us to the universal consciousness right now in this last 10-15 minutes.
You see,
it just moved away from.
I'm very, very fond of this idea that, you know, this Einstein's theory of relativity didn't come into existence when Einstein wrote that mathematical formula. It is there since the beginning. He became aware of that.
Yeah.
God is present everywhere. Even before the birth of Babuji or Lalaji or Lord Krishna, he is there. When you do certain spiritual practices and when you get the blessing of a guru, and because of the grace of guru, the understanding comes to you. He is always there, but we are blind to that presence. And it is the blessing of the guru that it is possible to feel the presence, and then you are realized.
Yeah.
So whenever a group of people like us, now we are talking about Babuji, automatically an environment is created. So it is very easy to feel his presence. And his presence is, as Sir has mentioned, is felt in the form of peace. How to prolong the spell of peace is your practice. So when you are seeing in a Bandara, it is very easy to feel continuously that peace. But how to prolong and make it into an unbroken chain of peace for 24 hours is what is all practice is meant about.
Commandment number 9. Mold your living so as to rouse a feeling of love and piety in others. The 9th commandment is simple and straightforward. It says that one should live in such a way as to arouse in all or all around a feeling of love of God and pious living. One becomes imitable and an example to others. Secondly, it provokes not love of oneself or for oneself, but to God. For one begins to ask oneself, how is that one lives so nicely as to evoke love for the individual himself because of the love that he has for God. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, thank you, sir, states that not for love of oneself does one love another, nor for the sake of love of another does one love him, but for the love of the Supreme Self or God does one love another. Because he sees God as a source of all life, and love does he love everything, or rather does he not shrink away from another. This viewpoint of God towards man and all is what is natural, whereas the way to love things in this world for the pleasure they give and so on is unnatural. God shines on all equally insofar as he is the inner force or anna, food or spiritual power that sustains all according to their status and evolution. Our aim being to reach the highest, we mold ourselves in the manner of godly living and godliness, which is precisely the experience of love to all. Unless one loves all, one cannot get the return of love. Love leads to real piety because it is the love of God, and in all it is selfless. God's nature is similar to that of the sun. His love flows to all in equal measure. One who loves God also begins to love all and draws all towards the divine. The Kenopanishad states the condition of one who loves God. All beings seek him with love. Thus one develops the divine nature when one loves God only, and thus stirs the inward love within each and every one. God's approach to each individual or being is individualized and unique. This is the occult mystery of the unity of the one and the many. The one manifests in the many and in diverse ways. It links itself up with everyone individually. There is only the unity of the source which relates all to one another. Thus, in the natural path, we link up ourselves with God through love and discover that we love all and that others love us with divine love. Even in fact, anyone seeks to love us differently, it is our duty to make it possible for them to love us through divine. Love or love us for the sake of the one supreme and ultimate Godhead or reality. It is true that reality has a peculiar fascination for man, which is distinct from the fascination for man which the unreal has for him. Our work is to withdraw from the fascination of the many as many and seek love of the one, which is the essence of the many. In spiritual life, one has to learn the 3 R's: ridicule, repression, and respect. Even as in ordinary life of education, people say that one must know how to read, write, and do arithmetic. One who loves God is ridiculed at the beginning. If one gets over that state, he finds that others put hindrances of all kinds before him, and if even then he persists and goes indifferent to either ridicule or repression, people begin to be serious and seek to know why anyone should seek God and not the world. A shock thus coming to one leads to re-evaluation, and naturally one reaches the state of love of all and gains love of all. Master speaks of the deserts of love only when one reaches the higher states. However, to practice the love of God in one's everyday life is to gain the love of all others who see in him the same essence of being. Nature is indeed working her own natural way, and if one lives in conformity with her, then he also becomes more and more attuned to the ultimate being. The most natural way of living is godly life for man, and this life cannot be in contradiction to any other way of life when it is lived naturally. Man goes beyond the realm of hatred and passion and rejoices in the being of God. A truly godly life is possible only through the love of God, and such a godly life produces in all beings the love and the piety that is the central to the very life of the Abhyasi.
Interesting correspondence. You see, Pujya sir is talking of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and Brihadaranyaka main theme, one of the main themes of Brihadaranyaka.
Sir, one correction, sir. This is actually Dr. KCV's talk, sir.
Okay, KCV. Okay. Oh, anyway, he says he used to tell, go to Tirupati, KCV is there. He will look after your spiritual needs. When he said KCV, it means KCN. So he never differentiated between KCN and KCV. So that is the thing. So anyway, we'll go to Sir's talk then.
Molding, commandment number 9. The 9th commandment advises us to mold your living so as to rouse a feeling of love and piety in others. Why should we live like this? Our primary duty, we have noted earlier, is to reach the homeland. This we do by annihilating our individual creation and live in the domain of the divinity. Having achieved this, it becomes our duty to help our brethren also to reach the goal. By living in a manner that arouses love and piety to the divine in others, we would be discharging our responsibility. Though this appears to be very difficult, it is possible. We know we got motivated to move towards the divinity because of revered Babuji. That if it was possible for him to be a divine in expression, it shall be a possibility for all of us also. That is why revered Babuji has really exhorted all of us to become as we see it in the prayer he gave us to follow. He never said that we fall at his feet and that is our goal. We say fall at his feet because of our deficiencies and weakness. We say it because of our incapacity to live up to the level at which he lived. We are conscious of our inability to reach that level. That is why we all say that revered Babuji is the master and we all surrender to him to reach the goal. Still, that is not how revered Ramchandraji wants us to live. He exhorts us to live in such a way as he lived, so that if he could motivate all of us to think in terms of divinity, we also as expressions of divinity shall motivate others to come up to that level. We may be insignificant men, but still we can show the path to the others. How to do this? By following all the commandments, living according to the levels expected of us, we will be in a position to influence others. Molding our speech, moderation being our approach, balanced existence being our approach, piety being our approach, devotion being our approach, love being our expression, it should be possible for us to make others think in terms of divinity. Each one of us is succeeding to some extent. None of us have succeeded to the extent that he succeeded. Perhaps we will not, but still that is the challenge. That is the opportunity. That is his call. Revered Babuji's call is mold your living so as to rouse a feeling of love and piety in others. It's not something we may do or we may not do. It's not something we can do or cannot do. He says mold yourself. From this particular individual creation of egoism, arrogance, intolerance, trying to dictate terms to others, trying to say the other man that we are superior to him, that we are better expressions of the divine than he is. All this is arrogance. He never accepts that. He says, live in such a way that we are the most humble persons, that we are humble servants of the divine, who is trying to express fully through us, and we are allowing only divinity to express itself, rather than allowing our creation to be expressed. We use our creation only for enhancing the beauty of his creation. If we speak, it is our creation. In this process, what we are trying to do is trying to beautify the master's message, to express it in a much more meaningful way from our insignificant point of view. Our point of view is insignificant because our point of view shall be the point of view that will prevail in our life. But in our own way, we are trying to express divinity. All this while, we are trying to share our wisdom of the master and trying to determine ourselves to follow the path given by him for our happiness. This is how I try to make my vocal cords function for him. This is my creation. Surely these words are my creation. These are not creation of the master. He has expressed himself in a different way, but when I do this, what I'm trying to do is to explain his thought, however inconsequential it might be. In the process, really, I may be marring it also. One may not take our message. He may not understand our English. He may not understand the way in which we have put it. but he will understand the small thing that there is one divinity above. We can be 100% sure regarding this, and we will have to succeed 100% in achieving this goal, and thereby alone will we be in a position to propagate his consciousness that is pervading everywhere, that he is prepared to enter into every one of us being, every one of our being, influence our being, and make it summum bonum of our life, summum bonum of our life. This molding of life, this is molding of life. Molding does not mean that we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, say we are absolutely following the commandment. Nobody is bothered about it. We get up at 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, or we do not get up at all. Who cares? Our life finally should be like his. That is, that it should develop a feeling of love and piety in others. No hatred, no jealousy, except love. And this is possible. And this is possible when that divinity, as we discussed, which is deep within our heart, hidden in the core of our heart, is allowed to express, and all our limbs, all our faculties, mental or otherwise, are utilized for his purpose. If we use it for one purpose, naturally it is our creation in action. If we use it for his purpose, then it is his creation in action through us. If we use it for our purpose, naturally it is our creation in action. If we use it for his purpose, then it is his creation in action through us. This commandment gets implemented by an awareness of our oneness with him, and we understand that all our faculties are really his gifts to us. We realize that we have nothing that can be said to be ours. Our limbs and sense organs are really his under trust with us. In our meditations, we experience our non-entity and the reality of his being as we move towards the Brahman.
If there's any questions or this thing, if it is not there, then we'll come to the end of this reading session.